Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering unboxing. This is the fourth unboxing of the 5 Magic the Gathering Commander 2015 products. This one is the Red White Wade into Battle deck with Kelemin, Disciple of Iroas, as the lead commander, which is a legendary creature, giant soldier. We'll have a look at that card properly once we open the deck up. Again, with all the other decks, this contains 15 new magic cards. It's a 100 card commander deck. You get the one foil oversized commander card, so there's not there's 2 alternate commanders in here, but you don't get 2 oversized ones for those. There's 10 double-sided token cards. This just forms, inside of this is a deck storage box, which basically just allows you to hold the cards unsleeved. There's a strategy insert and a rules reference card. So let's open this up and take a look. So there's our single oversized card. There's the deck itself with the tokens. And what we'll do, as I've done with all the others, is have a look at the insert that sort of describes how the deck works. There's our rules reference guide, sort of mini how to play Magic. And here's our deck description sheet. So like all the other decks, you have this backstory section. So there's our sort of lead commander, and then you have this, one of the alternates here, Anya Merciless Angel. There's how to play a commander game. And then on this side there's actually the playing the deck. Here's the bit of most interest to this particular deck, which is the actual deck itself. Again, this is a bit shiny, so I don't know how easy this is to see, but as I pointed out on previous videos, what they've done is all the new cards are starred up here. We don't have any new cards in the sort of land section at all. But within the other types of cards, we've got things like Meteor Blast is a new card, Fiery Confluence, the commander itself, Kelemin, Disciple of Iris, is new. Interesting as well, they also indicate the alternate commanders. So Anya Merciless Angel is both an alternate commander and a new card. And then the other one in here, I think, yeah, Gisela, Blade of Goodnight, is an alternate commander, although it's not a new card. And I think that's the same in a lot of the decks, is that sort of same thing where you've got, you know, new commanders and commanders that are, you know, cards that have been previously released in Magic. Under artifacts, we've got things like Blade of Cells, Thought Vessel, which we've seen before in the other decks. In enchantments, we've got Rite of the Raging Storm. I've already mentioned the sorceries, and we've got things, creatures such as Warchief Giants, new Herald of the Host, Dawnbreak Reclaimer, I can see there, Dream Pillager. So they're all part of those sort of 15 new cards that you're going to see. So first up, we'll take a look at the tokens, because that gives obviously a good indicator of part of where this deck is going. You know, we're seeing tokens in all of the decks. So obviously to produce these tokens, we've got cards within the decks that have mechanics, abilities and actions which do that for you. Okay, so Lightning Rager and Lightning Rager. I try to work out what the point of actually putting the same token on, you know, as a flippable token. But anyway, then we've got this experience counter area which we can use for our commanders, and we'll see how this works when I go through the actual commander. Shapeshifter and shapeshifter. Oops, there's another one there. What was that one? Elemental shaman and shapeshifter. Elemental shaman and knight. It is, yep. And elemental shaman and knight. Elemental shaman and knight. Shaman and knight. Shaman and knight. And shaman and knight. So that would indicate something in here is producing shaman tokens, knight tokens, shapeshifter, and lightning rager tokens. Okay, so let's look through here. So we're going to start off with, it looks like the uncommons, commons, and then it normally flips through to the rares, mythics. So I will read out the rares and mythics, and also the mana base ones as well. The land cards are always interesting to look at properly, because that gives you some idea of that sort of the support that you get from the mana base. So we've got Orsicus Explorer, Stink Drinker Daredevil, Dawn Glare Invoker, Stone Shock Giant, Thundercloud Shaman, War Chief Giant, Herald of the Host, Sandstone Oracle, Soul Rings in here, Boris Signet. So we're going to see these signets, which are sort of on colour signets. Cold Steel Heart, Fell War Stone, so we've got our mana rocks. Lightning Greaves is in the deck. In fact, I think Lightning Greaves is in all the decks. Mind Stone, Thought Vessel. So this is a new card in all the decks. 2 colourless. You have no maximum hand size. Tap, add 1 colourless to your mana pool. Basalt Monolith, Boros Cluestone, Darksteel Ingot, Worn Power Stone, and Dreamstone Hedron. Curse of the Nightly Hunt, so we're moving on to our enchantments here. Banishing Light, Faith's Fetters, Rite of the Raging Storm. We've got an instant in the form of Fall of the Hammer, Tribal instant Crib Swap, Orim's Thunder, Breath of, is that Darigaz? So sorceries now. Meteor Blast is in here, and here's a bit of our mana base. A single mountain, that's interesting. They often use the sort of the land as a separator between the commons, the uncommons, and now we're moving on to our mythic rares and rares. So here's our lead commander. This is Kelamin, Disciple of Iris. So it's 2 red white, 3/3 legendary creature giant soldier. It has double strike and vigilance. Whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater, you get an experience counter. So this is where the experience counters come in. Kelamin, Disciple of Iris gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. Anya, Merciless Angel, which is the alternate one of the alternate commanders, is 3 red white 4/4 legendary creature angel, has flying. Anya, Merciless Angel gets +3/+3 for each opponent whose life total is less than half his or her starting life total. As long as an opponent's life total is less than half his or her starting life total, Anya has indestructible. So it's going to be interesting to see in here, this particular deck, you know, are there ways of messing with opponents' life totals which are going to better synergize with this particular commander if we were going to use it. And we got Gisela, Blade of Goodnight, 4 red white white 5/5 legendary creature angel, flying first strike. If an opponent would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. If a source would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, print half that damage rounded up. Inferno Titan, 4 and 2 red, 6/6, creature giant, red. Inferno Titan gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Whenever Inferno Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2 or 3 target creatures and or players. Sun Titan is in here, 4 double white, 6/6 creature giant with vigilance. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to your battlefield. Angel of Serenity, 4, 3 white for a 5/6 creature angel with flying. When Angel of Serenity enters the battlefield, you may exile up to 3 other target creatures from the battlefield and or creature cards from graveyards. When Angel of Serenity leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hands. Magus of the Wheel, 2 and a red, 3/3 creature human wizard with 1 and a red tap. Sacrifice Magus of the Wheel. Each player sacrifices his or her hand, then draws 7 cards. Calamine's Captain is in here, 3 and 2 white for a 5/5 creature giant soldier. It's got vigilance, 5 and 2 white monstrosity 3. If this creature isn't monstrous, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it and it becomes monstrous. When Calamine's Captain becomes monstrous, exile all artifacts and enchantments. Dawnbreak Reclaimer, 4 and 2 white, 5/5 creature angel with flying. At the beginning of your end step, choose a creature card in an opponent's graveyard. Then that player chooses a creature card in your graveyard. You may return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Dream Pillager, 5 and 2 red, 4/4 creature dragon with flying. Whenever Dream Pillager deals combat damage to a player, exile that many cards from the top of your library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards exiled this way. Blade of Cells, which is artifact equipment, 2 colourless. Equipped creature has Myriad. So Myriad, whenever it attacks for each opponent other than defending player, you may put a token that's a copy of that creature onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker he or she controls. Exile the tokens at end of combat and it's equipped for 4. Taurian Mauler, 2 and a red, 2/2 creature shapeshifter. It's a changeling, not surprising being a shapeshifter. This card is every creature type at all times. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Taurian Mauler. Desolation Giant, 2 and 2 red for a 3/3 creature giant with a kicker. The kicker cost here is 2 white, so you may put an additional 2 white as you cast this spell. When Desolation Giant enters the battlefield, destroy all other creatures you control. If it was kicked, destroy all other creatures instead. Famiko the Lowblood, 2 and 2 red, legendary creature, human samurai, 3/2. Famiko the Lowblood has Bushido X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So Bushido is something we saw in Kamigawa block. So whenever this creature blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +X/+X until end of turn. Creatures your opponents control attack each turn if able. Haunted Dragon, 3 and 2 red, creature dragon, 6/6, flying haste. When, did I say Haunted Dragon? I meant Hunted Dragon. 3 and 2 red, 6/6 creature dragon, flying and haste. When Hunted Dragon enters the battlefield, target opponent puts 3 2/2 white knight creature tokens with first strike onto the battlefield. Okay. Sunrise Sovereign, 5 and a red, 5/5 creature giant warrior. Other giant creatures you control get +2/+2 and have trample. So we've got lots of giants in the deck, so that's going to help there. Hammerfist Giant, 4 and 2 red for a 5/4 creature giant warrior. Tap Hammerfist Giant, deals 4 damage to each creature without flying and each player. Hostility, 3 and 3 red for a 6/6 creature elemental incarnation with haste. If a spell you control would deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage. Put a 3/1 red elemental shaman creature token with haste onto the battlefield for each 1 damage prevented this way. When hostility is put into a graveyard, from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. So that's where it creates our elemental shaman tokens. Jareth Leone Titan, 3 and 3 white for a 4/7 legendary creature cat. Whenever Jareth Leone Titan blocks, it gets +7/+7 until end of turn. White Jareth gains protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. Victory's Herald, 3 and 3 white for 4 creature angel with flying. Whenever Victory's Herald attacks, attacking creatures gain flying and lifelink until end of turn. Hamletback Goliath is in this deck. It's interesting with this. Reason why I sort of pick it out is that this has been issued, I believe, as a sort of foil premium in some Walmart repacks actually. So there's a lot of the full version of this in circulation. 6 and a red for a 6/6 creature giant warrior. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may put X +1/+1 counters on Hamletback Goliath, where X is that creature's power. Arbiter of Knoll Ridge, creature giant wizard, vigilance 5/5. When Arbiter of Knoll Ridge enters the battlefield, each player's life total becomes the highest life total among all players. Borderland Behemoth, 5 and 2 red, 4/4 creature giant warrior. Trample. Borderland Behemoth gets +4/+4 for each other giant you control. Magma Giant, 5 and 2 red, 5/5 creature giant. When Magma Giant enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to each creature and each player. Loxodon Warhammer's in here, so 3 colourless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has trample and lifelink. Equip for 3. Urza's Incubator, 3 colourless artifact. As Urza's Incubator enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less to cast, so we could choose Giant for instance, which would be really useful. I wonder. Yeah, no, it is. Okay. Seer's Sundial, 4 colourless artifact with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may play 2. If you do, draw a card. Staff of Nin, 6 colourless artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. Tap Staff of Nin, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Warstorm Surge, 5 and a red enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. Fiery Confluence, 2 and 2 red sorcery. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. We've seen these in the other decks. Fiery Confluence deals 1 damage to each creature. Fiery Confluence deals 2 damage to each opponent. Destroy target artifact. Disaster Radius, 5 and 2 red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast Disaster Radius, reveal a creature card from your hand. Disaster Radius deals X damage to each creature your opponent controls, where X is the revealed card's converted mana cost. Earthquake, X and a red sorcery. Earthquake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. Now we're moving on to land. Ancient Amphitheatre is a rare land. As Ancient Amphitheatre enters the battlefield, you may reveal a giant card from your hand. If you don't, Ancient Amphitheatre enters the battlefield tapped. So I've seen this. You see these before in other Magic sets where it's a tap land, but you don't have to tap it if you have a certain type, a creature type of card in play. I think one I've seen before, I'm trying to remember, I think it was in one of the like Lorwyn or Shadowmoor blocks, where it's dependent on, you know, there were lots of different creature types in that, and it was dependent on a certain creature type being present as to whether the card tapped or not. Tap, add red or white to your mana pool. Now we got our regular basic, the rest of our basic lands here. So we got, this is our red, this is our mountain mana base in basic lands. So I'm seeing a lot of artwork here from core sets. Generally, when you look at the other other decks as well. Then we've got planes. In a moment we should get on. Here we go. So I'm just going to go through these as well, and I know they're not rares, but it's always interesting to look at the non-basic lands. Vivid Crag, land when Vivid Crag enters the battlefield, tap with 2 charge counters on it. Tap, add red to your mana pool. Tap, remove a charge counter from Vivid Crag. Add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. You see these a lot in the Commander products generally, very useful. There's obviously a Vivid Meadow, which is the same card but in white. Windscarred Crag, so we got red-white fixing. Windscarred Crag enters the battlefield, tapped. When Windscarred Crag enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Tap, add red-white to your mana pool. Blasted Landscape, tap, add 1 to your mana pool. It's also got cycling for 2, so if you don't need the card, you can pay 2, discard the card and draw a card. Boros Garrison, so this taps for red-white. Again, it enters the battlefield tapped, but it bounces a land when it enters the battlefield. So you have to have a land to bounce, otherwise it will just bounce itself. But interesting enough, it taps for red and white, so you've effectively got 2 mana in red and white. Of course, we've got Boros Guildgate in here, another tap land for red or white. Command Tower is always in these. Tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. Drifting Meadow, we've got cycling lands in this, again common appearance in these pre-constructed commander products. So taps for white, enters the battlefield tapped, but it has a cycling on it of 2. Evolving Wilds, a basic land fetch, very useful. Enters when you do crack it, when you do sack it for searching the library for a basic land card, that basic land does come into play tapped. But of course, if you got land, it's interesting with this because of course if you got landfall in your deck, then stuff like this is going to be really useful for landfall, because you've got a land coming to play and then you crack it and you got another land coming into play. Even though it's tapped, it is going to trigger that landfall. Forgotten Cave, so again cycling in red, so this cycling cost in this is a single red, and this also enters the battlefield tapped and generates red mana. Exactly the same thing but in white, that's Secluded Steppe. Smouldering Crater is the red version of a cycling land we saw earlier. For the cycling cost on this is 2. And another fetch land for basic lands in the form of Terramorphic Expanse. Okay, so there you have the Calamine, I keep wanting to say Calamine as in calamine lotion, Calamini Disciple of Iris deck. So you got your deck, your tokens, and the actual name of the deck is Wade into Battle. That was what they've called the deck, and it's a red-white. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.